So my guest today, you've reached Litvak Leadership Live. I'm waiting on my guest, Phil Gilkes, who is a certified business and sales success coach, to join me. He had confirmed he should be here momentarily, but in the meanwhile, I thought I would join you, let you know that we're here and we are ready for Litvak Leadership Live. Here we are and almost into the fourth quarter. Who would have thought a year ago that 2020 would have been the year that it was thus far? Sorry, just checking the phone when it vibrated. Hey, Sari. So who would have thought that 2020 would have been the year that it's been thus far? I remember my daughter and many other people talking about 2020 like, woo, we got this. We got this year. 2020 is ours. And then it started off with a bit of a bang. And then we moved into this rumor of a virus, a coronavirus. Hey, Tim. Hey, Ray. We're waiting on Phil to join me. So instead, while I'm waiting, I'm giving a recap of 2020. And didn't it seem like that 2020, every single month, I had seen the memes where every month it was something as you went through it. And it wasn't until March when things started getting really interesting in the United States. Shut down for 2 weeks, shut down for a month, president on TV every single day, and people just wrapping in, sitting down, not even talking to the rest of the world. But then we've slowly started coming out of it. People are being more social. People are looking forward to interaction with others. Many of the restrictions have started going down, and people are re-embracing their goals that they had set at the beginning of the year. I know I had goals. I know we've all had goals. Wes Wyatt says that the year started with a bit of a bang. Pretty interesting there. What is George saying here? In late January, February, I was a cruise in Asia, including Hong Kong, wondering if I was going to get home. Not a good feeling. Hey, George, you'll like our guest Thursday. Our guest Thursday is my cousin, Sari Uchin, world travel and CEO of Culinary Pros Catering in Las Vegas. And she has a story to tell because she was out of the country when this hit. So here we are, 4 minutes into today's Litvak Leadership Live and waiting on our guest. Let me check and see if he's going to be joining us. If not, I do have an idea what to talk about today. So I want to talk to everyone at this time, and it'll probably be a somewhat abbreviated show. I want to talk to everyone about not giving up on their goals because, the year is still here. The year is still ahead of us. We've got 25% of the year left to hit our goals. Now, some people I know have given up on goals. They're like, well, how can you even think about goals with civil unrest occurring? Wait, I've gotten a message from Phil. He's on his way. He should be joining us. But in the meanwhile, I challenge you, because I am challenging myself every single day to look in the mirror and approach it with the goals are still there. The plan is still there. I'm not going to let COVID or coronavirus stop me. Phil is almost here. It says device not connected, Phil. Not sure exactly what that means, and your guest will need to connect their microphone and camera before you can add them to the stream. Hopefully you're hearing that, Phil. And I know this isn't Phil's first rodeo at StreamYard because he does this himself. But so the year is not over. We all need to continue focusing on our goals, whether it's selling pizza liners, whether it is finding events to cater, whether it's customers to build websites for, whether it's building your social media presence, whether it's finding customers for your janitorial services. Where was I earlier today? Whether it was educating nurses and doctors, whether it is creating products in manufacturing. And I think Phil is ready to join us. So focus on those goals for the rest of the year. And ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, the one, the only, Coach Phil Gilkes. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give him a round of applause. Can you hear me, Phil?
I can hear you and see you.
Oh, you can. Okay. So there we go. There now you're on camera. Awesome.
Yeah.
So Phil, on Friday, I was running late, and my guest, Wes Wyatt, was sending me messages that said, Bueller. And I was like, yeah, I know, I am running late today. And then as I'm watching the timer tick down, I was like, okay, I better send Phil a message. But I'm sure you were just out closing an enormous deal.
Well, actually, it was planting the seeds and doing the work with a partner of mine in Atlanta, which is like kitty corner for me. I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and we're working on a presentation that's coming up at the top of the next hour. And we're going over the dotting the I's and crossing the T's. And I went, oh my God, I'm late. And I couldn't get on because I had a Zoom meeting running. So it was a conflict between the two different platforms. Sure. That's why you couldn't see me. So I have to reboot that and get started. Anyway, I'm here. That's what the life of an entrepreneur is all about. Flexibility and adaptability.
Absolutely. You've got to be flexible and adapt. So I want to ask you first, in your bio, and I'm so bad, I need to put the glasses on, but eventually the eyes will catch up with me eventually. You say, I'm obsessed with helping entrepreneurial business owners get outrageous success. So first tell me, how did this become your obsession?
Well, I guess I've been obsessed with it as at a young age, being an entrepreneur in the sales space and owning a couple of businesses along the way, and seeing how businesses are going out of business because they don't know the art and science of running a business. And that's what got me obsessed with it. People had dreams and ambitions to take their expertise, their technology, their technical skills, run a business. And what they find out is it's really not as simple as being the great technician that they are. And a technician could be a chiropractor, a contractor, a plumber, a printer, lawyer, it doesn't matter. They're all technicians. And a high percentage of them have a difficult time running the business side of it. They don't know what they don't know. And a good friend of mine, who we played hockey with a whole bunch of years ago, we're both oldest now, and he hired a coach, and he says, Phil, I can't believe I hired a coach. I mean, I've been running my business, a sporting goods store, been running it, and we climbed the mountains and dealt with the valleys and for 30 years. And, we did pretty okay. Got real estate holdings and got this and got that. But my brother and I didn't know what his brother and him didn't know how to deal with the exit strategy. So succession planning. So one of them had a daughter and the other one just wanted out of the business. So they hired a coach. And they worked with the coach for a year. And my buddy Jack says, I can't believe what I didn't know. I said, who would have thought that I could hire and work with a coach and learn more in 12 months about what I didn't know in my business and implement that in my business in such a short period of time? So that's what coaching can help you do. That's how I got upset.
So let's dig a little bit deeper into that. Let's say, someone wants to start a business, and I'm not talking about, but they need their current job in the meanwhile to continue to have a revenue stream, because I know a lot of people who have side hustles. All right. So what recommendations do you give them? What are the first 3 steps that they need to do to dive into their side hustle in a serious way?
Well, there's a side hustle, or if you've been in business 3 to 5 years or more, it would be the same sort of thing. You need to identify who's your ideal target audience. What's your market dominating position? In other words, what do you do that nobody else does that people would benefit by hiring you for your products and or services? That would be the top two. And then the third would be to keep that in mind. And when you're communicating to people, look for the ideal target audience, recognize the problems you solve so that you can address the problems they're having, the ideal clients having in their head, the conversation they're having, and then provide them with a solution that they can't find. And if you keep those three things in mind, whether it's a startup, a side hustle, or a regular business that's been in business for a while, those three things would be the foundation to move forward.
So what is the perfect age for someone to be to start a business?
Perfect age?
Yeah.
Wow, I don't think there's a perfect age. When I started my first business, I think it was 9.
Okay. So
I started a landscaping company.
I don't see you landscaping, but you were 9.
Oh, I was young and in great shape too once. Now I'm just great.
So if someone has a and that you are. So if someone has a passion for what they're doing, any age is the right age to start a business.
Yeah. I don't think age has anything to do with it. It's really what drives you. Why do you want to do it? What's your major definite purpose? And go after it. If you know what you want and why you want it and stifle the how, you can create more things in your life than any other methodology that I've come across.
So let's say someone is, starting a business, and but they've got all these ideas as to various avenues to use to get the word out, various services to offer, and they all sound good to them. How does the individual distill all of their passions into what makes the most sense to build a step-by-step plan off of?
Yeah, they would need to get clarity first, going back to what business am I in? Who do I serve? So in terms of what are the demographics, psychographics, identifying what business you're in, even if you're I'll pick on the print business because I was in the printing business for a bunch of years. And in the printing business, when I've worked with printers, when I ask them that question, they say, well, I'm in the printing business. I says, okay, that's what you do, but what business are you really in and what are you providing them? And really what a printer is doing is helping communicate. They're actually in the marketing communication business. And once they recognize that, they just happen to be doing it through printing, whether that be large format printing or business cards. I don't think business cards are used a ton anymore, but they still are used. So those are all marketing pieces. So if you can help your customers get better results with high quality message, impactful messaging in their printed pieces, then you're doing a great job. If you're just doing it to mechanically print something, maybe you're not providing the best value for your customer, but maybe you are. It depends on what business you're in and who your ideal client is, doesn't it?
I would think so, but you're Coach Phil and I'm Sean Litvak, so you should be defining that.
That's right. But I did that by asking a question. There is no right answer. People think that business coaches might be the expert, and we're not necessarily the expert. I've never been a veterinarian in my life, but I've had clients in that space and help them reach their goals and their dreams in a fraction of the time that they thought possible. Matter of fact, now instead of just thinking, when I first started working with this horse vet, and all he did was worked on horses, and at the time when I met him, he only wanted to work on competitive horses. If your horse if a horse was a pet, you weren't his ideal client. His goal was to have his hands on the top 15 horses in North America in and around rodeo type events. And he didn't quite make it. He only got him on 13. So that's pretty damn good. But he also had a vision of growing his practice, having 2 facilities, one north of where he works out of and one south of where he works out of. And that didn't happen either. When we worked together, that didn't happen. I'm afraid to say, John, that didn't happen. But what did happen was he got a bigger place in one location in a fraction of the time. It's actually in less than 2 years, he had the dream on paper and they started constructing it in the year 2. It was a massive place. And now, two years ago, he's added the south one based on the north one. And instead of having like, a smaller 4-acre parcel in each place, he ended up having 10 or 12 acres for one place, which offered him another business. And then down south of the city that we're in, he was able to build extend his dream further. And as a result of the coaching and him doing the work and coming up with helping him keep his eyes on the prize that he wanted, he was able to get that in a fraction of the time. That's what coaching can do.
So do you recommend, if someone is, goal setting and wanting to go out on their own, do you recommend that they, let's look at like Uber and Lyft. Okay. Do you recommend that they, and they want to be a driver and build a driving empire? Should they begin with Uber and Lyft, or should they be a personal driving service? What do you think works best for individuals? Do they lock themselves into a franchise? And I'm calling Uber and Lyft a franchise, although it's not. Or is it best to go out on your own completely? What do you recommend?
Well, I wouldn't recommend that they do either one of those without first doing the research. Why do they want to get in business? What do they want the business to do for them? What skill sets do they have already? What skill sets would they need to do already? And what skill sets would they need to develop? And then looking at the different ways of getting a business, what are the options out there, and explore them all before they do any of them. So if I was working with startups.
If you're working with who?
Startups, which is what you're asking me about in this interview. That's not my wheelhouse. And the reason it's not my wheelhouse is, even though I've started businesses and done that, a lot of them need to scrape their knees, stub their toes, and try it on their own first before they're coachable. Not everybody, but the few that I've run into, the reason that many people are entrepreneurs is they're not employable. Why are they not employable? Because they've got these other ideas that go contradict the people that they're working with. So they want to start a job, right? So let's pick on Harry the plumber and Jack the plumber. Harry works for Jack. Harry gets really annoyed, pissed off, and frustrated. He says, Jack doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I don't feel appreciated. Damn it. I know people. I've got a van. I got tools. I'm going to go start a business. And he goes out as a technician, which is what I was saying about earlier. And he goes off and he gets some business happening. He gets a few people working. He gets to work for a few people. Next thing you know, he's starting to have to add people. He didn't necessarily do a marketing plan or even a business plan. He just was pissed off at Jack. So he left Jack and started his own business. Actually, I have a client like this, only not in that industry. Anyway, my computer's acting up here. And so they go and start their own business. And what happens after they've run it for 3 or 4 or 5 years, and they've added a few people, and they're getting all the questions that he used to ask Jack, he's realizing that Jack's actually not that bad a guy. Running a business is different than being an employee, right? So they need to. My favorite type of target audience is somebody who's already been in business for a little bit. They've tried it on their own, and now that they can see where they want to get to, they just don't know how. And working with a coach helps them unify strategies, tactics, and invent the how to make it happen.
So when someone works with a coach, do they need to work with a coach that knows their industry, or is it just and I don't say just in a negative fashion. There was a different word I was going to use, but I couldn't figure out how to pronounce it. Pejorative. I don't say just in a pejorative fashion, but does one's coach need to come from the industry in which you find yourselves in? Is that a plus? Is that a minus? What are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are, going back to the veterinarian. I've never been a veterinarian, and we were able to help him do the results that he got. So I think that answers the question, doesn't it?
So, okay. So how is it that you're able to help a veterinarian that he couldn't help himself knowing his business?
Yeah. So
And I'm not questioning you like it's not possible. I just want you to explain it to the audience and myself.
absolutely. I'll do it in hockey terms. Who was the greatest hockey player in recent history who's not playing anymore?
Well, being a citizen of the United States of America, the only Canadian hockey player that I can think of is Wayne Gretzky.
And that's the right answer. So good for you.
Okay, good.
And then he became a coach of the Phoenix Coyotes. He lasted the season, and that was the end. But what's that?
Wasn't he terrible at that?
Yes, that's the point.
Okay.
He was a great technician, but a lousy coach. A wonderful human being, but a lousy coach. So being the greatest in any particular business, and it's not necessarily the key to being a great coach. A great coach asks and knows best practices, helps to inspire people to get clarity on their vision, helps them find systems, helps them implement the systems. A coach is not a consultant. A consultant is somebody who's hired to come in, do a study, do an analysis, make some systems, write some processes, perhaps some policies, and help them in a particular area, and then leave. That's not a coach. The coach works with the leadership team. Usually, in my case, it's the CEO or the C-suite, working with them to help them get more stuff out of themselves and out of their employees, and help them, gives them somebody to talk to who has a vested interest in their business without any equity in the company, usually.
So,
that makes sense?
So you know Phil Jackson, the basketball coach?
I have heard of him, yes.
Okay. I've never heard what kind of player he was. Based upon what you're saying, I would have to assume he was a good but not great player, since he ended up being an outstanding coach.
That could be very well, could be the truth.
Is that generally how it works? You're either everyone can't be Pete Rose and be a fantastic player. And from what I remember of Pete Rose, and we're not going to talk about the whole gambling thing, he was an outstanding coach also, though, too. Where's my Ohio people to talk about Pete Rose?
I don't know.
So,
I've heard of him.
Oh, you never heard of Pete Rose?
No, I have heard of him. Oh, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite flavor of ice cream? We'll pivot for a second.
Okay. Mocha.
Why mocha?
It's coffee-like in flavor and a little bit of chocolate, so it's a blend.
Okay. So back to business. So how long have you been doing this?
In human years or dog years?
Human years.
Okay. I've been officially running my business a dozen years.
Okay.
This particular business.
Yeah. Because looking at your LinkedIn, it appears you've been a business coach most of your career, and even prior to that, what you were doing, it looks like you were coaching of sorts anyways.
Yeah, I did. I worked with organizations that did training and development. I worked for a franchisor, had Dale Carnegie as their offering, and I participated in distributing and delivering that content and that information, as well as selling it. I've worked in high-tech companies that have a global presence, or they did when I was working with them. I've had a cross-section of a whole bunch of different things. And before I got into coaching, I had a client for 10 years 10 years. And I was helping them sell their software globally and help them get the preeminent position in their marketplace for a niche product in oil and gas exploration. So I've done a variety of different things, from owning a print shop to a marketing agency, sales agency for software companies who are looking to get their products out there. I've coached athletes. I've worked with university level athletes in terms of their leadership skills and development. And I do all this because it speaks to my heart. And if you do what you love, it's not really work. So that's why I've got that broad spectrum. And if you understand DISC, DISC is an assessment tool that I use to help understand people so I can coach them better. Because once you understand how people think in terms of how they prefer to communicate, it's easier to build rapport, trust, and respect, and get results quicker and faster. So that's what we're all of the clients, whether it's university, college, football athletes, or if it's a sales manager with a corporation, we start there and help them move forward with helping them understand how to communicate better and build rapport faster. And as a result of that, a lot of things can change and happen and get their businesses moving in the direction they want to. And it doesn't mean that everybody's off course on their business, by the way.
So are you talking about the DISC assessment?
Yeah, that's one of the tools we use. Yeah. We also have other products as well. Like we have a sales IQ that we can do assessment of where individuals are in their sales skills and their attributes in selling. We can identify what drives people, what are their motivators. So the DISC is how they like to communicate, and the motivators is why they do what they do. So those are just a few of the assessment tools we have available.
So have you met in your experience? Let me ask it a different way. Looking at the DISC, which is the dominant letter that needs the most coaching?
Yeah, that's not what DISC is about. DISC is a way of how do people communicate and how to communicate with them. I've had a client of mine in the large format printing said, all entrepreneurs must be a D, right? I went, no, actually they're not. D stands for, a director, very fast paced, very guarded. It's their way or the highway. But they don't necessarily make they are not necessarily the largest group of entrepreneurial flavors. There isn't one that's more of an entrepreneur than the others. It's their style of communicating with the people that they lead and they buy from and they serve. That's really what it's all about, DISC.
So, and I can be as successful an entrepreneur, the networking personality, as the S that wants to keep things, doesn't like disruptions.
Yeah, I'm going back over my client base, and S's are great leaders. They just do it differently than a D. That's all. It's just the way they like to communicate. And if you can communicate in the way that the people you're serving can communicate in, then you're building rapport. You're having that synergy. That's more important than trying to identify which one of those flavors makes a better entrepreneur.
Yeah,
now, there's people that the eyes tend to be more outgoing and people-centric, but that doesn't necessarily make them the best leaders. I don't think there is one letter that makes an entrepreneur successful or not. Understanding all four of them is really more important.
Sure. I mean, I've depending upon what stage of my career I was in and what my focus was. When I am sales focused, I am ID. When I am operations focused, I end up being far more DI, with a high C. Very little S in me, and frankly, I find it difficult to communicate with the S individuals, although they are the ones that just kind of, in my mind, float on the water and nothing should really faze them. True? False?
Yeah, I've not heard it described that way. Their big hot button for them is trust. They don't give it up. You don't get their trust easily. They don't trust you quickly. And then if you break the trust, they go put their little black book and put it in their breast pocket. Metaphorically, you wouldn't even know they did it. The next thing you know, that you've done some things to break the trust between the two of you, enough that they start ghosting you. They won't reply to your emails. They won't pick up the phone, and you're wondering what the hell's gone on. Well, you broke the trust. You being the royal you, I'm not picking on you, Sean. But anybody who has that experience quite likely is that you've done something to break the trust, and it's going to be almost impossible to get it back with an S. And S, for those who don't know what that means, they're the steady relator type people. And when they set a goal, it's got to be in harmony for everybody. And I have people that are in leadership roles, are doing a phenomenal job in a C corporation that's like $1 billion entity. And they're the leadership director of a particular region. They're doing a fabulous job.
So what sort of assessment, because Ray here is asking if a DISC can help someone determine a good feel of sales, of business ownership to go into. To your point, I'm not sure so much if it's a DISC that would do that, but what assessments are out there?
Yeah, we have. It's not there. I've played in that space in terms of in my career, and there are tools and assessments out there that would help you identify what your attributes were, your natural ones, and your passion areas, and where you like to go. DISC isn't that. DISC is really observable communication. That's what it's about. If you're thinking about a sales career, we have assessment tools to help you identify your strengths in that area. But if you're looking to see what your natural attributes are, those would be other assessments.
Yeah,
which I don't have.
So if someone wants to say, "Hey, Phil, I'd like to continue this conversation," what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Well, they could go to my LinkedIn page and send me a message, or they could go to Facebook, look me up there, send me a message, or they could email me at phil@coachphil.ca. They could send me an email and say, "Hey, I heard something. I'd like to know more information. Can we have a coffee?" So I have virtual coffee meetings.
Sure. So do you work with individuals to coach them in their businesses, or do you just work with businesses? Who is the, what is the range of clients that you work with?
So ideally, what I like to do in the small to medium-sized businesses is work with the ownership teams and help them from that level disseminate information and work with their teams, help them get better at that sort of thing. Having said that, though, I have a client, a Canadian-based client that's a $1 billion entity looking to be $2 billion in the next 5 years, and I do assessments for them as well as sales training. And people say time management. Well, you can't manage time, though. All you can do is manage what you do with the time that you have. So I provide them a course that we have called Eat That Frog. It's based on Brian Tracy's great work. So it's 21 ways to get more stuff done. So that I work with all people, individuals, corporations, that sort of thing. I enjoy working with the small businesses and as well as the large ones for different reasons. The small ones are usually it's easier to get access to them versus in terms of serving them versus the larger corporations where large companies where they're in the billions or multiple millions.
Cool. All right. So Phil, we've actually gone 31 minutes, which is probably closer to 27 since you had those technical issues, but you were making money. So there's nothing wrong with that at all. What do you want everyone to remember you by? What is your wit and wisdom for the final 2 minutes?
Oh my gosh, wit and wisdom. My favorite mantra, and everybody I work with is it's serve me well. Is if you know what you want and why you want it, and stifle the how, you can invent the way to wherever it is you want to get to. Will you get there 100% of the time? Probably not. But just think about who you become because you go after what you really, really want versus going after something you're settling for. So when you get to the end of your life, are you looking back with regrets, or you're thinking, you know what, I'm pretty happy with everything I did? That would be my improv answer to that question.
I like it that you're saying look at the why and the what and stifle the how. I've had a conversation the other day with someone where I was accused of making rapid decisions, and I accused the other individual of not making decisions at all and analyzing too much. Your why and what is on my side, and I like that.
Yeah. Well, you know what ends up happening is people will set, and I've seen this time and time again, is they'll look at what they did last year, and they'll increase their target for the next year by 10 points, and they think that's goal setting. Well, that doesn't turn on the creative juices. What I encourage people to do, and going back to the veterinarian that I was talking about, works on horses, we didn't look at his business and grow it by 10 points. We looked at it. What could we do? What do you believe you could do? What would be exciting for you to do? What would scare the crap out of you to do? And get a balance of both of those, excitement and fear at the same amount, 50-50, turns on the creative juices to invent and create and make stuff happen. So if you know what you want, that's your purpose and vision, and why you want it, you can invent the way to make it happen. It means you might have to learn something, you might have to go to school, you might need to make a phone call, you might need to read a book, take a course, do a live stream, get comfortable with that. And once you get comfortable with that, what else have you learned? What else? It takes you to another level. If you think of walking down the street and you look at the horizon, as you move towards the horizon, which is your first level of goals, you'll be able to see something you couldn't see before. And you'll get new inspiration, new ideas, and new anxieties to overcome and grow. So if you know what you want and why you want it, stifle how. Life is more exciting.
Awesome. Stifle the how. I think I need to make a banner that says that and just look at it and continue the why and the what. So Phil, thank you so much for being on the show today. I greatly appreciate it. You've brought a lot of clarity, I think, to a lot of people as they're looking forward into the balance of the year and what they want to achieve and whether it is still possible or not.
Awesome.
So this has been Litvak Leadership Live. If you have any questions, if you'd like to be on the show, we're taking bookings as we move forward. We have this week booked up and part of next week booked up, but we continue to book individuals on the show. If you have a message to give, we would love to hear it. Thank you for being here, and have a blessed day.